Are making progress on a new tool to help stop violence before it even starts.
They've begun testing a chatbot prototype that will eventually be used to help people report critical information.
As Laura Samble reports, researchers are closer to getting this crime reporting system up and running.
The same car keeps cruising up and down your street. You see a stranger lurking around your neighborhood. You feel something's not right, but you don't report it. Dr. Aaron Kearns, a researcher at UNO, says that's not uncommon.
One of the things that we see and we hear quite a bit from people is one of the barriers to actually reporting is this concern of, oh, I don't know if that's a big enough deal. I don't want to waste law enforcement time.
Dr. Kearns says overcoming information barriers like this is just one step needed for a new crime reporting system to work effectively. She's heading a research project along with Dr. Joel Elson at UNO aimed at getting the right information to the right people quickly to prevent violence.
So when it comes to suspicious activity reporting, this can often be sensitive or difficult to talk about material, and in some circumstances, using technology instead of a person actually helps to facilitate trust.
To help make it easier, the doctors and a team of students are developing a chatbot so people reporting suspicious behavior can chat with a computer instead of a live person. The project, funded by the Department of Homeland Security, is underway at Insight, the National Counterterrorism Innovation, Technology and Education Center at UNO. Now in Phase 2, researchers are testing a chatbot prototype and constantly refining it.
We want to put the power of information sharing into the person who's collaborating, who's being willing to disclose information, to share information.
The chatbot, similar to this one, will be embedded in reporting platforms that already exist. The information it receives will be fed into existing networks. Elson says the chatbot will help protect people's identities.
We want to make sure that individual feels extremely comfortable and protected. We want to make sure our privacy and our societal values are maintained.
With Kearns' background in criminology and Elson's background in psychology and technology, the team has a unique perspective, one that may address and hopefully remove the barriers to reporting. Laura Samble, 6 News.
Researchers hope the project will be expanded. Right now, they're working with the Sarpy County Sheriff's Department.